Hey Kevin, really happy to be here with you today talking about your film, Dawn Breaks Behind the Eyes, which I think is fantastic. Really big fan. Jumping right in, it's kind of cool because pretty much 1 year ago, at the beginning of August, was the original Fright Fest premiere of that film, correct?
hmm Yeah, it actually had, yeah, it was the theatrical world premiere was at Fright Fest, but it was shown before at the Popcorn Fright Film Festival in Florida,
Hmm.
where it was only shown virtually, so this is the official world premiere. But
Nice.
yeah, this was 1 year ago, pretty much.
Nice. So that's awesome. I mean, I bet it was probably just incredible seeing that on the big screen.
It was pretty cool, especially at Fright Fest because it was shown at the IMAX screen, so it was huge, and I think that's going to be the only time I'm going to see that film on a screen as big as that. But yeah, it was pretty wild, and because it was quite a long journey to finish the film, so it was just really rewarding to finally have it finished and to premiere it to such a large horror crowd.
Nice. Now, so speaking of crowds, was it really satisfying like seeing it with an audience? Like did the beats kind of work as far as like when you wanted people to jump, when you wanted people to maybe laugh, stuff like that?
I think in this case it worked out quite well, and I've been to a few screenings since then, and it's always interesting, even if there's no reaction. I think I can still sense kind of the general mood of the audience if they're engaging with it or not, and because the film is as you've seen it, but some of the viewers might not have seen it. It's of course quite yeah, it's an interesting film because it kind of lives with the expectation that there's an audience that perceives it, so it kind of plays with expectations that the audiences can have. So some screenings the people were laughing a lot more because which I like because I sometimes encourage it. I just say like this is meant to be. It's not a film that takes itself too seriously. So if you think something's funny, then you're allowed to laugh. Because sometimes when the director is present, some people they might not be sure if this is all meant to be taken seriously. So they're like, okay, I'm not going to laugh because he might think that's meant to be for real. And yeah, and so it was quite satisfying to see some scenes that constantly did get the reaction that I was hoping it would get. So I was quite happy with that. Yeah.
Nice. Um, Now, how long was this entire shoot just from like writing to actually, calling grabs? Like how long of a process?
It was pretty much half a year, which was we wrote this in we started writing it in October 2017, and we booked the castle, and we only had one open window where we were able to shoot the film, which was in May 2018. So kind of in half a year, we had to finish writing the script, we had to do the casting, production, so it was all very tightly scheduled, which I quite like because in the end we did manage to do everything, but it was quite stressful. And yeah, it just took a long time to get it finished because as I said, I wrote it in 2017, and now since the film came out, there have been I would say a handful of movies that are kind of similar or have like similar ideas in some sense. So people keep comparing it to them, which is cool. I guess it's a bit of a shame also because now people kind of know some similar type of films that did not exist at the time I wrote the film. But yeah, so all in all, it was half a year, and we shot the film for I think it was 24 days. We were at the castle, and
Wow.
we were actually living in the castle, and yeah, shooting at night mostly. So we had a kind of messed up daily rhythm because we were sleeping until 4 in the afternoon, and then we're staying up until I don't know 8 in the morning probably.
Wow. So you said you all lived at the castle there. That must have been really interesting. Was it like kind of creepy? Was it like weird, like spending a lot of time there, or not really?
I don't, I just loved it because we had some bats flying in at night, and I love bats and just the whole atmosphere. And that's why I didn't think it was creepy because mostly at nights we were shooting anyway and working with
Hmm.
people. But there were some people who kind of felt some presence, or they had some dreams about
Oh.
talking to some parents, spirits, or stuff like that. But I didn't experience it. I just had a really good time.
Nice. So while we're kind of on the subject, do you believe in the supernatural? Is that something that have you ever had experience like that?
I do. I believe in a lot of things, a lot of strange things, and I don't know. I lived in a shared flat in Germany for a while, which was above a mortuary and next to a cemetery, and so there was some, we had like we lovingly called like a house ghost that we called Michelle because it's kind of could be a man or a woman, so the name kind of fits both. And I don't know, we never really thought too much about if that was an actual ghost or not. It was just kind of a fun way to deal with some things that happened that we weren't able to kind of explain. So there were definitely some weird occurrences. That's why I would say I'm just open for the idea. I don't know. I don't really, because I think some people, uh, they judge people if they say they believe in ghosts or not. I think it's kind of frowned upon to say that that you believe in ghosts or not. But I definitely believe in some sort of afterlife. I would say also like in the existence of eternity or like experiencing eternity. So that's something I do believe in.
Okay. Yeah, well, and for the record, same. I I was very skeptical, but then I rented a place that was like very old. It was like pre-Civil War, and it had a lot of activity that
Mhm.
you just can't explain. So
Okay. Oh, nice.
yeah,
'Cause
so I yeah, it kind of forced me to be a little bit of a believer. So
oh,
um but yeah, so not to get too off topic. So now this was a really quick turnaround. Would you say that if the opportunity presented itself to do maybe like television or something that kind of is in that mode of like quick schedules, would that be something you'd be interested in or
um, definitely. I mean, it depends on what type of television show it would be. If it would just be like one episode, or like being working long on a series. So yeah, definitely I'd be up for that. But at the moment, I'm currently working on the next screenplay for the next
oh
feature
nice.
film, so which will actually be in English this time. So now we're kind of finishing up the screenplay, and I hope to have it finished in the next 2 months. And then we're just going to go
Exciting.
pitching and try to get financing, and then it's kind of the tough spot, the tough thing, of getting the money. And I just wish it was already at the state where I could just start shooting it.
Just film it.
That might take one more year, yeah, at least.
Now, as far as like raising the funds with this, or do you plan on doing like a crowdfunding thing, or like you have like another source that I only mentioned the crowdfunding because that's definitely something we could promote.
Mhm.
If that's some like the route you're going.
Okay, cool. In this case, I'm hoping because the Dawn Breaks Deep Behind the Eyes, I financed completely by myself, which was over the course of 4 years, just the costs kept coming and coming and I did it with the intention that, I don't know if I will get back the money I invested, but my goal was to have the next film financed by someone that's not me. So in this case, at the moment we're kind of just pitching it to production companies, or we're starting to pitch it, and we're hoping to kind of get it the money in this way to just kind of get financing from co-productions and from the German funding system, and if we in whichever country we end up shooting, just kind of get that together.
Nice.
But in case we do the Kickstarter, I'll be happy to come back to your offer.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Absolutely. Anytime, just let me know. But yeah, so what I loved about your movie, and this is what I said in my review, is I think you're one of the few, if not only, filmmakers that I feel like really kind of captured that like Euro horror from the 60s and 70s in a way that like I've never really seen that succinctly and that like dead on. Um, so I mean, congrats for that. That's amazing. But like, was there any specific movies that you used as kind of a template, or was it just kind of a general kind of pastiche?
I think it was more of a general pastiche. I mean, I would say, two or three movies that are kind of directly referenced. One of them is the Iron Rose from Jean Rollin, where there's the shot where she pulls the skull
Oh
in
yeah.
front of her face, which was kind of directly from that. And I don't know, at the time when I wrote it, I was watching or rewatching a lot of Fassbinder movies. which I quite like. So there's also one called Chinese Roulette, which was
Mhm.
kind of I think that's what I tried to get, the mannerism and the absurd way the people kind of overact. That's what I wanted to kind of emulate from this film. But in general, I think it was not. It was just because I just love Euro horror, and I've watched a lot of films, so I think it was just. I think I had a general idea of what I wanted to do
Nice.
with the film.
Speaking of Fassbender, I think you or somebody should do a big budget remake of Satan's Brew. I think
Oh
that's
yeah, that would be actually be quite fun. Yeah, I love that film. And Kurt Raab, yeah, he died unfortunately, but I'm actually friends with Harry Bear, who's also one of the Fassbender actors, and he's turning 75 next year, and I shot something with him. I did like a Dylan Dog series pilot, and yeah, I'd love to do something with him, but I'm not sure if but Satan's Brew remake would be quite fun. I think
Yes.
Frederik from Lüttichau, he would be up for it, who plays Dieter in this film.
Yes, that would be amazing. I would fund that myself if possible. But yes, that's great. Now I saw in another interview that you said that the original cut of your film was over 2 hours long. Is that right?
It was 2 hours and 20 minutes, so almost twice as long as the cut now.
Hmm. Now, as you can see, I don't like physical media at all. But um, if there would be like a physical media release, would you be interested in putting that longer cut with it, or not really?
I mean, there is a physical release planned. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say with whom, but it will come out probably early next year.
Nice.
And for that, I did collect some deleted scenes, but not like the entire extended cut, mainly because the extended cut, I don't have it as a like mixed, like the audio mixed and graded version. It's just like a really rough cut. And so in order to kind of do the whole full length version, I would probably need to kind of invest in like the audio mix again and stuff like that. And I personally, I don't know if I want the extended cuts to be out there, because it was just the first cut I did, and it features a lot of scenes that didn't make it into the final cut. And I might bring it out one day, but probably not in the upcoming physical release. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean that's really interesting, and I think it's goes to maybe a broader conversation about how the original cut isn't always kind of the like purest cut. I mean that's a lot of people say like director's cuts are like the definitive kind of version of what the director had in mind, and that's not necessarily the case. It's just for pacing reasons or what have you, it kind of works better trimmed. And I think, I'm trying to recall if I said this in my review specifically, but I know the pacing is really great. Like it's interesting because I see it as like two films, and I don't want to like spoil it for anybody, but you obviously know what I'm talking about. Like at a certain point, it reveals itself to be something a little different. And kind of to that point, did you find that like in people's reactions to it, did you find that was something that was people really liked, or did you find that was a little bit alienating, or what was the kind of response to that?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because I think there's two groups of people. Some of them they like really love the first half, and then they get kind of pissed off when it takes a change, and that's why they generally tend to rate the film lower, because they said like, oh no, it had all the potential to be a good film, and then it kind of does the switcheroo. And then there's the other type who said like the first half they didn't enjoy it all, and then the switch comes, and then they were really into it. So I think it kind of evens out. But in general, it's definitely a risk to do a film like that, because it's I think, as you also wrote in your review, it will alienate some reviewers who are kind of expecting something, and then they get kind of pissed off when it's not what they expected. But I always find it strange when people say like, why didn't you just keep the film the way it was in the first half? Because I think it's not the type of film I would have wanted to make.
Yeah.
But I can understand that people would say that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it is. I mean, I can definitely see like both sides of it, but I think as a whole, it worked really well. I kind of love. There's aspects of the first half of the film that I really love, and then there's aspects of the second half of the film that I also really love. Like I kind of love how it switches gears to like a sort of swinging 60s kind of it's still kind of in that Euro sort of vein. So I feel like it still meshes really well together. So yeah, no, but I definitely think it's fantastic, and it's really exciting that you have a new project that you're working on. Now, I'm sure at this very early stage, is there anything like you could tease fans with, or?
For the new project, I mean, it's also going to be a horror film, of course, and it's because most of my films so far have in some form been influenced by Euro horror, I would say, but this one isn't. So it's like the first one that's not really inspired by a specific type of film or not of yeah, I guess you could say that. It's a road trip horror film that I can say, and it kind of deals with similar ideas of also like punishment and eternity and the afterlife and aspects like that, and has some cosmic horror elements to it. So I think because after I did Dawn, I was writing another script that was I think more in my comfort zone because it was also set in a mansion in the 50s and it was more of a dark horror comedy. And then I had the idea for the other film, which is definitely more outside of my comfort zone because I don't like the heat and I don't like traveling, and this is like a road movie. But I thought, okay, it would, if my second film is also, a dark comedy in a castle, then people would think, okay, I'm the guy who does these types of films. So I just wanted to do something a bit more, where I challenged myself a bit more. So that's the general tone. Then the new movies, it's not going to be as much of a comedy. It's a bit more dark and mystical, you could say.
Nice. Now, since we're talking a lot about like older your oh my gosh, can't talk Euro horror movies, do you have like one or two favorites? Like what are your kind of go-to films in that sort of
Um, it's hard to say. I mean, I do like Jean Renoir a lot, so I like a lot of his films, Fascination and Lips of Blood, and of
hmm,
course Iron Rose. Also like Harry Kümmel's Daughters of Darkness. That
yes.
was a good one, of course. Of course, La Race, the vampires. This one I quite liked. I don't know. I have to think. There was also some British horror films Legend of Hell House. I quite liked, or Burnt Offerings, which is more like 80s. I don't know. There's quite a lot that I keep revisiting. Yeah, it's hard to say. I also really love the what do you call the Blind Dead
Oh yeah.
trilogy
I was
films.
gonna say that's
Gen-
up there somewhere.
oh yeah, and like the Castle of Blood, and just a lot of film. Of course, the Barber movies I enjoy a lot. You also, I think you mentioned the Five Dolls
Hmm.
movie which I quite like as well. And yeah, it's quite a lot. I generally I tend to like horror films that have a very driving atmosphere to it, so that which the Euro horror films tend to have, where the atmosphere is almost like the main part of the story, where it has this dream logic and it kind of feels like a nightmare you're experiencing. That's what I always like with films.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's funny because it kind of like your film kind of reminded me of do you remember the like the fake trailer in Grindhouse?
Don't you mean?
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I would have loved to see that as a feature film, definitely.
I actually did. That was really cool. It was maybe one of my favorite like recent movie like going experiences as far as like a more recent film. But um yeah, no, I always like try not to ask people like what their favorite of something is, because if you're like me, that kind of changes from day to
Mhm.
day from my mood or whatever. So
Yeah,
like people are all the time like, what's your favorite horror movie or something? And it's like, I don't even know where to begin.
I have a definite answer to that one in my case. I think my favorite horror movie is because at some point I was like, okay, I might as well have to choose one, and it's Cemetery Man, Della Morte dell'Amore.
Yes.
So
Oh,
that's yeah.
nice.
I thought it has like the perfect mixture of it's like art house, it's kind of gory, kind of trashy, kind of sexual. So I really and I'm a big fan, as I mentioned, of the Dylan Dog comics, which is kind of not based on but kind of inspired by.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic answer. That's such a great movie. I think you nailed it when you were saying that it's like it's got so many great elements, but they're all working in harmony. Like nothing seems like it's overpowering the other, like the dark humor and the sex and the violence, and it all just meshes so well. Um, and again, I think that's kind of bringing it back. I think that's what works about Dawn, because I think that like all the aspects are working kind of in perfect harmony. Together, and that's what kind of makes it such a brilliant kind of like mood piece, pastiche, horror film. And it's a love film. It's like a love story ultimately, but just
Hmm.
kind of with this like Euro horror background, which I love.
Cool.
um so now, are you doing any of the festivals right now, or like virtually? Like, I know Fright Fest is like on the horizon, and Fantasia Fest is just kind of wrapping up. Were you attending any of those, or?
Not anymore. I mean, our festival tour is kind of nearing an end now after a year, and I did catch a lot of festivals last year, but mainly the ones that were in Europe because it was just too expensive, and because of COVID, it was kind of too
Hmm.
uncertain to say if because it played at a lot of festivals in the States, and but it wasn't unfortunately like 1 month where it played at 4 festivals, so I could have
Uh,
gone like a tour. So I wasn't able to attend any. I think there's I'm thinking of going to Ravenheart, which is in Oslo, a horror festival where our film is going to
hmm.
be played. And I think there's a few in South America, but yeah, I think that will be the last one, probably Ravenheart, that I will go
Nice.
to. I would love to go to Fantasia, but if my film is not showing, it would feel kind of weird going there, or at least it would be expensive going there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd love to go at some point.
Now, like going back to, we were talking about Fright Fest, that your film was playing at last year. Like, do you remember any like really standout films from last year that you enjoyed, while you were also kind of at the festival, or
Mhm.
take in many other movies, or?
At this one, we didn't watch too many movies because we were 8 people and we were also kind of visiting the city, of course. I was most looking forward to The Sadness, which I was not disappointed. And yeah, it was pretty cool. I kind of got in touch with Rob, the director, and we've been, chatting over the year, just kind of, exchanging notes on our festival experiences and, stuff like that. So this one I quite liked a lot. It was quite intense, and I think it was the third time it had been shown at a festival at that point, so it was still kind of fresh. So there was not this hype surrounding the movie, which I think ruined it for some people if they expected it to be much
Yeah.
more gory. I think, um, but I think yeah, this was definitely my highlights. There was one I missed, which I still haven't seen, which is Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes.
Hmm.
That's the one I wanted to see, but it was booked out until we got tickets. So that I would have loved to see.
Yeah, that's a good one. That one, I unfortunately, I like never have the resources to see these in person, but I've been lucky enough to do them virtually, which is nice, but probably does not beat seeing that stuff on the big screen. So yeah, I think that's about it. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about the movie, and I will link where people can rent it and check it out. And I will, hopefully when we get a home video release, I also do like reviews for that. So hopefully well, listen, I'll be buying it no matter what. Like that's well, your movie's definitely going on the shelf
Oh,
there.
nice.
Um,
Cool. And we're also planning on, I hope I don't speak too soon. We're also planning on releasing the soundtrack included in
nice.
the special edition. Yeah.
That's awesome. I have a buddy that also like writes for the site and everything. That's a big like vinyl soundtrack guy, so he will
Mhm.
probably definitely be picking up that day one. So thanks again. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your film and to tease maybe some upcoming stuff. So if you like this content, definitely consider giving it a like and comment. And thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you.